I watched a lot of movies last year and I thought I'd share some of the best ones with you in this video because it's fun talking about films. This didn't happen. Now that we're all set up for today, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new here. My name is Ellie and we have chilled out chats about anything and everything. Starting with my favourite genre of all movie genres, thrillers. Woman of the Hour was the first film that Anna Kendrick has directed, and it's based on the true story of the serial killer Rodney Alcala, who made a 1978 appearance on the TV show The Dating Game in the midst of his murder spree. The film shows a few of the murders that Rodney does commit, which is really hard to watch, and also the events that lead Cheryl Bradshaw, played by Anna Kendrick, onto the dating game. I absolutely love a thriller, and this ticked all the boxes in my opinion. And the fact that it is Anna Kendrick's directional debut, incredible. It's a tense, jaw-dropping watch and does make you a little bit scared for all the characters, especially since it's based on true events. Next up, we have 7500. 7500 centres itself around Tobias Ellis, played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt, whose pilot becomes hijacked by terrorists. I loved the long, drawn-out camera shots in this film because it makes it feel so much more real and you can feel the chaos going on a lot more. And the fact that most of the film takes place in the cockpit makes it feel claustrophobic, at least to me, and it makes you feel like you're trapped in there with Tobias and you're vouching for him to survive somehow. This was a surprisingly great watch, even though I love thrillers that are based on airplanes, but Joseph Gordon-Levitt does give an exceptional performance in this film, which obviously does help. Next up is a very different feel of a thriller. We've got The Prestige, directed by my favourite director of all time, Christopher Nolan. The film focuses on two magicians, Robert Angier, played by Hugh Jackman, and Alfred Borden, played by Christian Bale. The whole film is based in Victorian London and revolves around the two stage magicians having a feud over what is the best teleportation act, or illusion should I say. This in itself as a plot doesn't sound that mesmerising, but trust me, it gets really dark, and just watch it. Next up we have Luckiest Girl Alive, which is a very powerful film with a very powerful message. This is a very difficult one to watch, and it revolves around a woman called Annie, who is played by Mila Kunis, who was gang at a party when she was a teenager, and it focuses on the effects that this has on her later on in her life. As much as I am a crier when I watch movies, this one made me bawl like a baby. It was incredibly painful, and the fact that there are many characters in the film that blame her for being is just horrific, and it mirrors so well the fact that this actually happens in real life. It's one that has certainly stuck with me to this day. It's one that I would happily watch again, and if you are able to immerse yourself in that kind of plot, I would highly advise you watch this too. Parasite. What an incredibly good film. Parasite is a South Korean film, and it follows the Kim family, who are a poor family living in Seoul in a semi-basement flat. They are then faced with an opportunity to infiltrate a very wealthy family. One by one, they cleverly get themselves jobs working for this family and start to get a taste of the good life. You have no idea where this film is going to take you when it starts, and there are so many tense parts of it. It's brilliantly executed and a must watch. And lastly, in the thrillers, we have Saltburn. So this begins at Oxford University in England, and it follows the obsession of a guy who just started there with a fellow classmate who is quite well known and aristocratic. Once they become friends, this fellow classmate invites this guy to his family's estate, which is called Saltburn. There are many disturbing scenes in this film. I'm sure some of you might know some of these, and I'm not going to say them in this video because they are that disturbing. So much so that I was on the edge of the sofa whilst watching it, and it's probably one of the hardest things I've had to watch on screen. But because of this, I have to say that the acting by Barry Keoghan is incredible, and you just do not see the twist coming, and it is so cleverly written. Out of all these films, I'd probably say this is the one to watch next. On to horrors then. We're going to start with Longlegs. Longlegs is one of those horror films that you cannot really describe that well. It's not the cliche slasher film or supernatural. It is in its own domain. But essentially it follows an FBI agent in the 1990s who is tasked with tracking down an occultist serial killer who is responsible for murdering multiple families throughout Oregon. Michael Monroe in this film does an exceptional job, and Nicolas Cage as Longlegs, just impeccable. His portrayal of the serial killer is so haunting that you just can't take your eyes off him. The film also does a really good job at concealing Longlegs' appearance until near the end of the film, which I think is really clever in building that tension throughout. And the fact that this is an independent film, like what? Okay, the other really good horror film that I watched last year was Signs by Mr. M. Night Shyamalan. This film stars Mel Gibson and Joaquin Phoenix and focuses on Mel Gibson's character, a former priest named Graham Hess who discovers a series of crop circles, and it's slowly revealed that these are being caused by extraterrestrial beings. I found this film to be extremely encapsulating because instead of seeing the rest of the world's reaction to these crop circles and then the aliens actually showing up, we're focusing on one family and their reaction to these events, which I think makes it so much more accessible to watch as a viewer, because you would really only think about how you and your family or you and your partner would react if this actually happened. It also interestingly explores the themes of faith and religion and how this relates to the aliens in terms of Graham Hess's character. On to dramas, we have Green Book. The film stars Viggo Mortensen and Mahershala Ali and is inspired by the true story of a 1962 tour of the Deep South by an American pianist, Don Shirley, and an Italian-American bouncer who served as Shirley's driver and bodyguard. The film's title is named after the Negro Motorist Green Book, which was a guidebook for African-American travellers of safe places to stay in America, which was published from 1936 till 1966. Although we have an idea of what happened in America back in the 1960s and before, this film really does open your eyes into the sheer amount of racism that was just everywhere at this time and how this was delivered, and the unexpected friendship that was formed between these two individuals is heartwarming. The second drama we have is Whiplash. This film. So Whiplash focuses on an ambitious music student and aspiring jazz drummer who is pushed to his limit by his abusive instructor at the fictional Schaffer Conservatory in New York City, and I feel like I butchered that. I mean, the whole film is just incredible and tense throughout, but that very first rehearsal where the student fails to keep the tempo on Hank Levy's Whiplash and the instructor throws a chair at him, you just don't expect it. J.K. Simmons does an incredible job at playing this almost like psychopathic instructor, and even just scenes of him watching the student drumming is just tense enough. It's one of those films where it's like nothing I've seen before. We've only got one sci-fi film on this list, and that film is Her. So Her follows Theodore Twombly, who's played by Joaquin Phoenix, a man who develops a relationship with Samantha, played by Scarlett Johansson, who is an AI system personified through a female voice. The two start to date, and the film explores the consequences of such a relationship, and it also brings up how this could happen in the future and again what the consequences of those kind of relationships could be. And lastly, a Christmas film or thriller film, depending on how you want to see it, that I thoroughly enjoyed and watched on Christmas Day is Carry On. Carry On follows a young TSA agent who is blackmailed into allowing a nerve agent on board a flight during Christmas Eve. As expected, the film becomes more and more tense as the situation becomes more chaotic. It's also very reminiscent of Die Hard because you've got that one guy who's trying to save the day and not cause any casualties in doing so. As I said, we watched this on Christmas Day and it was just refreshing to watch something that was different to your normal like family friendly films at Christmas, which we also did watch a lot of. But yeah, this Christmas or at any point this year, do give this a go. It's a really good film. And those are my hand-picked favourite films from 2024. I really hope you like this video, and if you have watched any of these, please let me know what you thought of them. As always, if you did like the video, please give it a big old like and comment down below anything in terms of films that you like or such. But that is it for today's video, and until next time, take care.